Space Coconut.
I've been talking, right, with a lot of different people and getting in comments and quotes and emails and stuff. People are just sending me this stuff out of the blue, right? And the consensus is they like VHS, but there are a lot of problems. And the interesting thing is that if you talk to any of the other content creators, right? Maybe if they are supported by Hellbent in one way or the other, right? How often do you hear them say something negative about the game, specifically about the problems in the game that we're having right now? Now, it's really possible that because the devs are aware of the situation, right? That they're, like you said, they went kind of silent. Maybe they're aware of the situation and they, have already said, we're looking into it, right? Maybe those other content creators are going to be like, the devs have already said that they're looking into it. They're already taking care of the problems. You don't need to keep bringing it up, you big brown asshole, right? You don't need to keep talking about the bullshit in the game. We're gonna pretend that nothing is wrong. We're just gonna play the monster role. Hee, I'm having a great time. And we're gonna pretend there is no war in Ba Sing Se, right? Or whatever that meme is. There are no problems in VHS. Whatever problems there are, the devs are looking into it. The devs are working on it. It's perfectly fine. The game is perfectly fine. And anybody who doesn't like the game right now just needs to get good. It's just because they suck at the game. Holy crap. It's just because they suck at the game, right? This VHS elitism that a lot of these people have, it drives me nuts, and B, it's not going to make the game better. And it's going to make the reputation of the game even worse. Worse than it already is, by the way. Not like Hellbent is forcing anyone not to say anything negative, so I don't know why people are hesitant to talk about the problems. That's the question, isn't it? Are they not forcing anyone? Because I guarantee, how much interaction have I gotten from the devs? They don't like my tweets. They don't interact with any of my posts. They didn't respond to the script I submitted to them saying, hey, do you guys have anything you want to say about the script? But I found out from a third party that they were upset at that video, but they didn't want to talk to me about it. They didn't want to talk about the issues. They didn't want to, talk about the concerns I had, right? Can tell you that even CompCord has taken a stance against the elitism and gatekeeping. Don't get it wrong. It is pure gatekeeping at this point. That's interesting. I'll have to take a closer look at that. I think people are hesitant to talk about the problems because they're afraid to put the game in a negative light this early in its lifespan. I don't think that's completely it. There are some content creators that are all in on VHS, and if VHS fails, where are they going to go, right? So the question then becomes, do they and the lobby's broken. So do they participate in the negativity? Do they talk about the negative things? Or do they keep, ignoring the negative things, only talking about the positive things in hopes that they get the cookie from Hellbent as in becoming a rewinder, right? There are a lot of people who don't say anything negative about the game because they want to become a rewinder. Yep. And feel scared to say anything that detracts from the narrative that they want to push about it being perfect. Waffle works, somebody. Exactly. And that's the consensus that I get with all of the people that talk to me. And it's crazy. It's crazy. Like if you look at the Discord and you filter through the questions and the topics, and even if you filter through the negative feedback on the Steam reviews, right? If you look at those, and yes, we can laugh at them and say, oh, they only played for 2 hours and they're just mad that they lost. That may be true. Okay. So you want to be a rewinder, but I'm not scared to give constructive feedback about a game. That's fine. You don't have to give, it doesn't matter if you're scared or not to give constructive feedback. The question is, will that hurt their decision to choose you to be a rewinder? There are over 800 applicants to that system, right? How many of them are completely willing to have Hellbent's junk in their mouths in order to become a rewinder, right? And then would they say, you get what I'm saying, right? The favoritism there. They're going to like people who speak positively about the game, which is fair, okay? But then, yeah. And you wouldn't want to be part of that group. Exactly. So then what does that say when my lovey's dead? What does that say when they say we invite feedback? We want small creators to be part of this program, but the 6 people we pick, only say positive things about the game and are the biggest content creators that VHS has right now. There are a lot of questions, and any of us can be salty about decisions in that. But if we can set aside our emotional feelings, our feelings about how this feels, we can stop and we can really look at. We can see that the problems exist, and we can question, the handling of those problems. Everybody is aware that Hellbent is aware of the problems, right? They know the problems exist. The question is, how are they going to react to people who bring those up, right? I fully expect to not become a rewinder, right? I've completely given up on the program. I do not think they're going to let me do that for a myriad of reasons. And some of which are what other people tell me behind the scenes that happen and what has happened to them. So I'm not so worried about becoming a rewinder or not. So what does that do for me? That completely opens up my ability to simply speak the truth and ask the hard questions. And people aren't going to like me. Thing that stands out for me is all the rewinders currently, except Texas Smith, who I believe is IRL friends of the devs, all big DBD streamers. Exactly. And that thing that they have on the main Discord where it says, look at our, where is it at? I have to scroll up. Bulletin board, where is that at? Look at all of our rewinders going live, right? And what does it say? Let's see. Trickster Shadow is... the thumbnail on the thing is for Dead by Daylight. The thing for Lily Pie is for Dead by Daylight. Tex Smith is playing The Forest. Granny is playing Mortuary Assistant. They do they play VHS, obviously, but it is not the main game. So there's a question to be had there, regardless. Anyway, Amused Monkey said, buddy. To be fair, most of the people in this game were DPD streamers. I don't know if that sounds more out to me. Yeah, they all were. To my knowledge, they all were and are partnered with Dead by Daylight as Fog Whisperers. I know Lily, Granny, those two were for sure. I don't think Trickster was. But regardless, right? My main issue is, so like the elitism, right? It's not required to be their main game, though. They just need to meet a certain amount of hours, and that's it. That's true. That's true. It's absolutely true. And it's not that it's a wrong thing. Exactly. That's fair. That's fair. So what I was saying before was that our question becomes, in regards to the elitism that I was talking about earlier, like if you run through the Discord, you'll see a lot of people, when they want to defend the game, which is their right, they will talk about how the new players don't understand how to play. And if they just stuck around long enough, they would, get better at the game and they would understand some of the small nuances. And I know this because I used to be one of those people. That used to be my mindset, thinking that the people who don't understand the game are going to leave the game. Okay? However, if you stop and you think about it, if that mindset thrives, if that mindset sits and stews in the Discord and in the game, okay, then what does that mean? You get players in general that are going to have colossal egos about how good they are at the game, okay, And because they're good at the game, they're having fun with the game, right? Why would I want to stay around longer when I'm not having fun with how long teen lobbies are and how unfun Monster is? Exactly. Thing is, get good does not work if the game is seriously dropping players. Exactly. We can. There are questions to be had, and so get good as a response from the players that say that they're amazing at the game. That itself drives players away. Sure, it'll be good for their content. They get to say they're amazing at this game, and people will come and watch them be amazing at the game. That's fine. But we look at, let me see here, just really quick. This bad boy has gone. You can see this line, right? You can see that just going down, and this is not healthy. You can't say that this is healthy. If people aren't playing the game because it's too hard, because they're not having fun, because they don't want to get good at the game, if people aren't having fun, the game isn't going to be successful. And the people who are sticking around are going to have no one to play with. I'm going to tell you that you're driven off when people start taking it too seriously. There's that question too, right? VHS is meant to be a sweaty game, right? The question becomes, how sweaty will it become, right? And like, I personally don't like going against sweaty monsters, or monsters that I went against, who was it? I think it was Glob the other day. And I have this match recorded, and he was playing Werewolf. No, it was Blue. I think it was Mr. Blue. I was playing against Mr. Blue. It was Blue or Glob, is one of those two. And they were playing Werewolf. And I was one of two people who got downed. Now, at the time, I didn't have my name hidden, so maybe it had something to do with them recognizing my name, right? Maybe not. But I was downed, and this other person was downed. It was Hotel. I was up on the lobby stairs, and the other person was in the basement. The person in the basement got downed, and the werewolf came back to my body and stood there. Now, mind you, this is one of the top-rated monster players, right? This is one of the guys that probably doesn't need to camp a body. And as Werewolf stood there and, intermittently feasted on my body and didn't bother chasing anybody else and made sure I died. Okay, made sure that I died. Now, there's an argument to be made that that is a valid tactic, right? The teammates, while he was camping me, should have been making weapons and so on and so forth. Maybe. The question is, regardless of the strategy that is needed to overcome a situation, in that situation, should a player be having fun? And they can't really, right? So regardless of my situation, right? That's the first time that that's ever happened, and I was with teammates that didn't exactly know what they were doing, so I just chalked it up to inexperience on their part. Not knowing how to deal with that situation, and then me maybe being targeted or not being targeted, and so we'll do that in a second, Faye. Looks like I also need to add some other stuff to that, but anyway. The question then becomes, if you give that to a first-time player, the person whose first match it is, and you put them in that situation several times in a row, okay? Feasting, there's a certain time to feast. There really, really is. You want to feast when nobody has a weapon and the only thing they can do is craft weapons. It'll let you feast freely, right? That's really the only time to feast, at least for a long period of time. What can the developers do to solve this? Because every day there are fewer players, and little by little the game will die. If we already start, the EA dead will not be something attractive to the players with the launch. And that's a real question, right? That's a question that needs to be asked. Because we're the players, and we can't really say what the devs should do to fix something. We can give a suggestion, and it'll go, into deaf ears, right? I guess I should hit play. The question then is, what will they do? Not what can they do, what will they do? And the only thing we can do as players at this point is wait and see. Okay. They say they listen to feedback, and there have been times in these updates that they have made changes that made the game slightly better, right? But this problem with Monster being not fun to play under certain circumstances is the real problem. Nope, it's still a question of what can they do without fundamentally changing the entire game. Yeah. That literally what I said. What can they do? You're attacking on the fundamentally changing the game, but that was a video that I made a while ago talking about, I don't know, that I didn't know what they could do without changing Monster, right? There's something wrong with the Monster role that at its core makes it less fun to play than the teen role, which is why so many people play the teen role over the Monster role. Part of that reason is being able to play with friends, but that's not the entire reason, right? There are a lot of people who go into solo queue still without friends. If they wanted to solo queue and play the game by themselves, they could play Monster, but they choose to play teen. So the question, without fundamentally changing the game, like you're saying, the question is, what can they do to make that role more fun? And then after, or even before that, are they willing to do something like that? Final Fantasy XIV destroyed their game in order to rebuild it from the ground up. And now it's a colossal success in spite of its launch, okay? But they had to completely scrap what they had originally. They had to kick their hubris to the side and say, we did a garbage job. The players don't like this. We took the easy routes. We shortcutted. We did all of these things. And we have to get rid of everything and start with a clean slate to make the game this should have been in the first place. And so VHS is not in that situation because the game is fun to play. Now we're in a broken lobby again. Yay. The game is fun to play, right? For the teens, for the teen players. In order for VHS to be successful, both roles need to be appealing to play. Right now, that is not the case. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. For one reason or another, people prefer playing teen more than they prefer playing Monster. Everybody's opinions are different. The question is, what will be done about that? I think it's stress in the wording of the Monster rule. When you have to plan every move out, it gets exhausting, as you said in your video. When something is called Monster, then you're not Monster most of the time as a newbie. And that's fair. The automatic assumption that you as the Monster having a power role is a fair assumption to have as a new player coming into VHS with absolutely no experience, right? I've said before that the push-pull of the match makes it interesting, right? Teens with weapons are the power role, and then teens without weapons, the Monster is the power role, right? The back and forth and the fight of that situation is part of the fun in this game for me, right? The push-pull. Now, a brand new player coming in isn't going to understand that, and they're going to jump in as werewolf and they're going to I'm going to slaughter everybody, not understanding that they have to be wary of weapons. I know the get good argument is not applicable and it's bad for the game, but I'm a Monster main and I really enjoy the game, but I know there's a huge gap in how a player with zero experience can understand the mechanics of the game to play properly. The Monster role is much more fun to play when you're great at it, but learning Monster, getting into Monster is very difficult and frankly unfun. Monster main. Yes, dear. Okay. Oh, you're gonna get here? Yeah. All right. Say bye.
Oh, bye.
Later.
Love you.
Love you back. All right, so pretty soon she's going to be out so we can do whatever we want in the house. And she's gone. Time to throw a party. Like DBD killer roll, even as nobody, you can dominate some rounds with a lot of effort. Right. Like you are an unstoppable force in Dead by Daylight. Okay, so we have to be careful about trying to turn VHS into Dead by Daylight with our suggestions, right? But understanding a new player's expectations coming into VHS is the most important thing we can do, or the devs can do. And by the player base as a whole, saying to a new player who comes in and says, why do I have to hide from monsters? Or why do I as a monster have to hide from teens with weapons? You know, that basic understanding needs to be understood, and it needs to be translated that that's not the kind of game that this is, right? That the monster is not an unstoppable force, that the goal is to try and stop the monster, right? And to do that, you fight back. So, I don't know. I have a problem with the elitism that I'm hearing a lot of people talk and say in the Discord. And when it comes to the feedback and making negative videos and discussions and things like that, the question becomes, will content creators like myself who decide to go that route and talk about these negative things, are we still a welcome part of the community? Or are we going to be completely ignored by the community managers and the devs? At least I think my least favorite part of playing Monster is the fact that teens have more counterplay than I do when I'm already at a power disadvantage. I have less than 30 hours in the game. I understand. Valve managed to sell the back and forth gameplay between Monster and Hunter, so it can be done. It should be. I can't stand cowards. I can't admit fault. Evolve is a bad example, in my opinion. A lot of people did like that game, but I hated it due to the entire purpose of Evolve to be make as much money as possible, right? Crash, what's up, buddy? I had one match, and then the rest has been Lobby Simulator. Nerd, what's up, buddy? I had one match, and the rest has been Lobby Simulator. And every time somebody leaves a lobby, I have to restart the queue. So queue times being a problem. Back to your question. Biggs, VHS dying. The data would suggest that it is. Monetary failures aside for Evolve. The data would suggest that it is, because if this trend continues, right, this line is going down. If it keeps going down, there will be no VHS. This line needs to stop going down, and it needs to go up instead in order for VHS to do well. That's the trick. Yeah. We're about 1,500. So, but it's every day is less and less players. Every day is less and less players. So, there's a question. And I've been in a lobby with a strange goose before, so there are so few players that I'm still. It's about as big as the beta was. Now that I'm thinking about it, it's about as big as the beta, as the number of players coming in. I can join if you need a guaranteed person that doesn't leave. Oh, we're good. We're spending the lobby time talking about VHS, and we're good. We're okay for now. Really hope VHS's sake of Hellbent takes a critique about Monster to heart. And that's the question. We don't know if they have or not, right? Like a lot of people have been saying, there's all of this silence going on, right? And there are people like myself bringing concerns up, and instead of talking to us about our concerns, we're getting flack. We're getting the cold shoulder. We're getting, there are no problems in VHS. It's in the basement.